So coming out of the Ridgeline Full Spectrum SPR class, there is a lot of content that I want to put out. I can't show all of it because obviously that's why you pay for the class. If you want that information, go take it. But I will be able to show you a few small clips of different teaching blocks, different things that I feel like would be really helpful for some of you. But before we get into any of that, we're going to start off with how the class starts, which is what is an SPR. And I feel like this is really important because this is one of like the really big misunderstood things. I see it a lot in the comments, guys arguing about what an SPR is or isn't, what a DMR is or isn't. So Jay sets kind of a foundation for the entire class, explaining what an SPR is and why it's so important. I'm gonna let him give this quick abbreviated version of it, and then I'll chime in at the end with just some input on this and things that I learned during the class. And then in the coming days, you'll see some of those blocks of instruction I talked about, but also you'll see a full course recap, and that'll be a much longer video. Again, I won't be able to show you all the instruction because that's some of its proprietary information, so you can go sign up for Ridgeline class. Also, if you missed the Kestrel masterclass we put out, which is an hour-long video on Kestrel, probably the only video you ever need to watch, you can go watch it up here. It is a true hour-long, full-on class that will answer all the questions that you might have. But yeah, I'll turn it over to Jay.
All right, guys, so next let's talk about where does the SPR come from, right? And what is an SPR? So if you look up here, right, SPR originally stood for Special Purpose Receiver, then basically became Special Purpose Rifle. Started as an M16, AR-15 base gun with a match-grade barrel and trigger. Usually it was a Douglas barrel, Knights triggers up front. There's quite a few over the years got changed out to other types. It's going to have a full-length free-float rail system. Original ones had PRIs and Knights armaments in the later versions. Bipods, there's a few different ones used. Generally, the Harris is the most popular. Magnified optics, there's several different ones. Leopold, Night Force, generally on that 2 to 3 in the low end, and then that 10 up on the high end. 5.56 caliber and a suppressor. The mill guns had Ops Inc. suppressors, still available from Allen Engineering. So what was around before the SPR? Well, we had bolt guns, the M24 that came out in the 80s, and there were still the M14 systems that were in service. So you had your M14 National Match guns, M25s came out, M21 was actually the Army sniper rifle. A lot of problems with the M14 though. Harmonics, chassis issues, bedding issues. We saw it through all the different ones as they kept trying to keep putting it into service as a DM type rifle. It was just not the best case. Having dealt with them in Afghanistan and at the schoolhouse, we saw tons of problems as far as getting those things to shoot good and to stay shooting good. The Knights Armament M4 MWS came out as part of the SOP mod kit, and that's kind of where all the add-on stuff originally started coming from. We had the rail system that allowed us to clip on IR lasers and illuminators, vertical grips, sights, optics. It allows you to change out everything on your rifle. So the SPR platform continued that out. The SR25 had also come out, so the 7.62 larger frame version, which went all the way back to the original AR-10s. And the marksmanship teams at the time were also running accurized M16s and coming up with these heavy for caliber rounds, such as the 77 grain bullets, like the Sierra Match King. All right. There's the type classified Mark 12 Mod 1. That's the front cover of the manual. So the SPR itself was a collab from AMU 5th Group and Crane back in the 90s. So it started pre-GWOT, and it was actually like absolute perfect timing. The types of environment that guys were operating in, as far as having open terrain, mountains, desert areas. First ones were a receiver. You had Mod A and Mod B. Again, a couple different versions of that. Went into the Mark 12 program of record. They decided to actually make it a type classified rifle. The Mark 12 Mod 0 had the tubular carbon fiber forends and had some issues with those as far as shifting around and the connecting rail on top. So they came out with the Knights rail, the full length free float RAS, which is a great rail. I still have one on my rifle today, still very serviceable. Mark 262 was the ammo. They took the 77 grain that the match teams were using on contract and said, hey, let's type classify this. So the Mod 1, there's two different versions. You had the nozzle bullet and you had the Sierra bullet without cantilores. They said they started to discover some bullet setback issues, and then they came out with the cantilored 77 grain, loaded that, and it's been used ever since. In the global war on terror, once it kicked off, they realized what a capable platform this actually was. You're able to have accurate fire, a lightweight rifle, and rapid follow-up shots. And guys absolutely loved it, and a lot of guys did a lot of good work with it. On the competition side, this is my SPR here, and this is the same one that I won the International Sniper Guide with in 2005. U.S. Marine Corps also adopted the Mark 12 as a designated marksman rifle. Why does the SPR concept live on, right? What is so good about this thing? Why are we teaching classes about this? Why are so many guys building them? Why is this the most enjoyable rifle to play with in the entire world? Well, first of all, it's lightweight. A lot of the 7.62 systems that are out there, they add a lot of weight. So it's very heavy to carry. The ammo is very heavy to carry. You get less rounds in the magazines. They're incredibly accurate. 1 weight accuracy is pretty much the standard with this. Some of them shoot even better. So you have the ability to engage those distant or small targets with ease. Having run a lot of classes here, you see guys with just red dots on M4s. Yes, it's a capable system, but once you start to conceal those targets or hide them or make them really small or they're moving, having the full application of fire with the optics that you get on the Mark 12 really makes a lot of that stuff easy. Rapid follow-up shots. Like you guys will see later in this class, we're going to shoot at targets very far away at a very, very fast cadence. We're going to shoot it so fast that you're going to hear the rounds, or you're not going to hear the rounds. The rounds are going to impact the target, and then you'll hear all the dings come in after that. A very high rate of fire with low recoil. So shooting things like moving targets, I can stay on that target, I can track it, keep going, and just keep delivering accurate hits. No degradation of close range ability. Like we say, this is a 0 to 600 capable rifle. I can clear rooms with it. I can move from vehicles with it. Whatever I have to do on the close end that I can do with an M4, I can do with this rifle as long as it's set up properly. Generally, it means adding a mini red dot sight to it, which we have on all of ours. All right, and like I said before, the optics is a lot of full application of fire, right? So I can hold for elevation, I can hold for wind, I can hold for movers, everything that I need. The stuff I just can't get with a red dot or just an ACOG type system. All right, as I change environments with a mil scope on there, I can just run data in my solver. I come up with what I need and apply, unlike having a BDC equipped rifle. All right, any questions?
Okay, so there you go. There's the brief history of the SPR, what an SPR is and isn't. And I think one of the things that Jay hit on during the class, as he was teaching throughout the week, is the gun is so dependent on goals and context, right? So what is the goal that you're trying to achieve and the context around that goal? And that in large part determines the setup and how important the gear really is, right? So when we talk about why this matters, why SPRs matter and why scope carbine matters, because it's the easiest thing to get into if you're trying to learn a new skill, if you're trying to push to further distances, because you can literally take the AR that you have, no matter what brand it is, no matter what level it is, you can take that, put a magnified optic on it, get a little bit better ammo, and shoot out to further distances. You know, with a little bit of math, download the app, get a Kestrel, whatever it is, you can do that. And in a weekend, you can be shooting out to 600-700 yards, no problem. Now, where this comes into having better gear, where like the people argue, like, can you get it done with this or that? Like, can you get it done with cheaper gear? Yes, 100% you can. Where it's going to start to fall off is going to what Jay said in the class is it depends on the goal and the context around what you're trying to do, right? So if you're shooting big silhouettes at 500-600 yards, yeah, you can do it with cheaper ammo. You can do it with an optic that's not as good. And if it's on like he talks about, if it's on like a golf course range where you have these high contrast targets, yeah, you can do it with glass that isn't quite as clear. But when you start getting into, as we learned in the class, and you'll see this, when targets are hidden, when they're camouflaged in the woods, it's a lot harder to see those targets without clear glass and without higher magnification. That's where better optics come into play. Also durability, right? So if you're somebody who shoots competition, if you travel a lot, if you beat up your guns, if your optic is banging around a lot, a cheaper optic isn't going to hold your zero, and you're going to have issues constantly chasing zero and wondering if it's you or if it's the gun. Also, you know, that's where like better barrels come into play. I think the progression you're starting to see with more and more rifles, you know, Jay talked about the history of it and how it kind of progressed and the way they started to change things and improve upon them. I think one thing you're starting to see is people are changing the way the barrel nut and rail interact. That's becoming more and more popular against manufacturers. I know that's been out for a while, but you're going to see that more and more, I think. I think also barrels are starting to improve. People are demanding that barrels perform better and better. So I think you're starting to see higher quality barrels come out, and this is all great because this whole scope carbine movement is going to affect what the manufacturers are putting out, because as the shooter standards raise and get higher, the manufacturer will have to meet that. They'll have to put out better products. So then we as consumers then get a better product out of the box. So I think overall this is great for everybody, no matter where you're at on the spectrum, whether you're new to it, whether you're thinking about it down the road, if you've already been in it for a while. But yeah, so you can get into this fairly easily. But as we start to get down to smaller targets, as you get down to hidden targets, as you try to do this faster, as you try to do it in different environments where the gun may get beat up, where you're banging against the stuff, where you need something that's durable, that's when better gear is going to matter. That's when better barrels, better rails, better optics, better mounts, all that's going to matter. And then as you try to do it faster, again, like he talks about, we did do this in class where we shoot really fast, far. That's where things like recoil management, so guns that aren't over-gassed, better buffer systems, maybe brakes or suppressors, that's where those things start to come into play. So whenever we talk about gear, nobody's trying to say, oh, you know, like you need to have the Gucciest, you need to have the best. You need the best gear to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve in the context in which that is. So I wanted to share that because I felt like that really stuck out to me in the class, and Jay didn't mention it in this part, so I wanted to put that in here. So hopefully that helps some of you guys and maybe encourages some of you who aren't quite at the point where like you see like guns that I use or guns that Taylor uses or guns that they use or, you know, what Bruiser uses or guys at competitions. Like you see the rifles they're using. Like the class we were at, like nobody had a bad gun and nobody had a bad optic either. Like everybody had premium, like quality equipment. So it was definitely not the gear. It was all the shooter whenever we were missing. So maybe you're not at that level, but be encouraged that you can still get the job done with what you've got, learn the skill, and then as you build the skill, then improve the glass, improve the barrel, improve the ammo. You know, you can make those small incremental jumps over time as you get further and further into this, as you chase further and further down the rabbit hole. So hopefully that helps you guys. Some of the content's going to come out, I think will be really helpful for y'all. And then I think you guys will really like the recap at the end. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, karate chop that bell so you get notified every time I upload a video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Possum Puncher merch, it's on the way.